Hey guys, Tepcocyclerepair. Today we're going to be going over 5 different ways that you can use to bleed your brakes. I got this GSXR I'm building behind me. It's got brand new braided brake lines. I'm going to show you the way that I use to bleed those, because those can be a real pain when they're brand new and they have all air in them. I'm going to show you the most common ways, and I'm going to show you a couple ways that you're going to need to do and will save you a lot of time, a lot of headache, and just a whole lot better. Okay, guys, before we get started, please hit the like button, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Let's get started. All right, so first off, we're going to talk about reverse bleeding. So to reverse bleed, you're going to need a syringe like this. I got this from like a veterinarian place it's like I don't know what it is, for horses or something. And you just take the hose, suck up fluid, fill up the syringe, and then you crack the bleeder on the bike and you push it through there. And you got to make sure that this is loose enough, otherwise the fluid won't be able to go in. It should go in pretty smooth, and it'll go down, fill up your calipers, and then it's going to go up the line to the top. That's a good way to do it. Not always the best. The syringe, pushing it can be a real pain, and then you have to keep filling it if you don't have enough in there. Sometimes it has a problem going through this. It's not the best way, but it is a good way, especially if you're doing like KTM clutches and stuff, and it has a slave cylinder on it that you got to push it through. That helps. Another problem I see sometimes is that if you have this too loose, you'll get some air through the threads when you're pushing it down, and it can push air into it. It's not the most ideal way, but it's a good way to get it started and get your lines filled up with fluid. Okay, another way to do it is just your old school pump and bleed. So pump, hold, and bleed. So the way you do that, if you've done some brakes on cars, that's how they do it. Your dad might have taught you that way. If you got a dad that works on cars and stuff, it's you yell at you, he's underneath the car and he's at the brake nipple here and he's like, pump it up, son, pump it. And then you pump it, now hold, and you hold it, and when you're holding it, he cracks this loose, boom, right? And then when you cracks it, the pedal drops to the floor and it pushes the fluid out. So I'm pumping the brake lever up top, open it, close it, let go of the brake lever, pump it, hold it, open it, close it, let go of the brake lever up top. Another good way to do it, but if you're doing a whole brake system and you want to flush out in a car, or you're doing it in a bike, you have to sit there and keep pumping the lever, and holding it, release, or holding and release. Sometimes you can't get to both sections at the same time. It's kind of a pain. Not the best way, but that's method number 2. All right, the third way is to what I call a pulse method. So basically you take a bottle like this here, like I have a water bottle and have a hose running in it. You put some brake fluid in the bottom of this so that the end of the hose is submerged in brake fluid. You put the end on here, and then when you put the end on here, you just crack it loose, right? And you have fluid in the master. So you got fluid up here in the master, crack that loose down here, and just start working the lever. So when you're sitting there working the brake lever, right, as you're working the brake lever, fluid's going to come out and go back in a little bit, go out, go back in a little bit. And as long as you have some brake fluid in the bottom of that line right there, it's eventually going to fill this line with fluid, and then you won't get any air coming backwards at you. So usually what I'll do with this one is I'll pump it, hold it, crack it, shut it, pump it, hold it, crack it, shut it, and then just open it up, and then sit there and just keep cycling it through. Now with it wide open here, you're just pushing, and you'll see the fluid come out, go back in, 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 and it'll slowly flush it. Easy way to flush it that way. Just got to keep an eye on your master and don't run it too low where you push some air in. It's just going to make everything take longer. All right, so the line's filled. This is cracked open. See, it's loose. All right, this is loose. This is cracked open. Watch what happens with the fluid. All right, and then we're going to let off. Comes back up, but not all the way back. See, pushes it down. And just keep working the lever, paying attention to the fluid. All right, this is what I just call pulsing. I'm just pushing all the air through. It's a great way to do it. And then when I think I got it, I'll just squeeze it tight, and then I'll just tighten the bleeder. All right, now the next 2 ways are the ways that I would recommend to do it. One is better than the other, and I'll tell you why. This one here is a pneumatic method. I use this a lot, and this one is a vacuum method. So with the vacuum one, you hook it up to, there's your brake line right there. You hook one end right here. You hook the other one to the caliper. You pump it a bunch of times. It causes vacuum. And then it just starts, then you just crack the valve and it'll start sucking pressure through the lines, and it'll suck the fluid down through the lines. That one is good, and if you don't have a good compressor, that's going to work really good for you. The only problem is when you want to stop it, the only way to stop it is to actually pull the line off so it doesn't. There's also a pressure release button on this, and I can press it and release the pressure. Then you got to pump it up again. So it works, you know, pretty good if you don't have a compressor. This is the way that I recommend if you have a good compressor. The way that this one works is you hook up an air line to it. It's pneumatic. And this is how I'm going to do these right now because these lines are completely empty. All right, so with the line on there, and I'll put the air line on here, you just squeeze it. All right, when you squeeze the lever, it starts blowing air out of there, and it causes suction, and it'll dump all the fluid into here. And the cool thing about this one is that I can squeeze the lever and I can lock it in place while I'm up top and I'm just watching the fluid level drop. And as the fluid level drops, I'll just keep filling it. And then when I'm ready, when it gets, I'll fill it up one more time. I'll pop this off right here, let go of the lever, and it'll stop. So that's how I'm going to bleed these right now. I'll show you while I'm doing that one. All right, guys, so I now have this line hooked up to the caliper. I have fluid in here. I'm going to crack the bolt on the bottom of the caliper. I'll squeeze this trigger and I'll turn the volume down so I don't deafen you guys. And then we'll watch the fluid drop down and I'll show you how it works. Alright, I just got to keep this filled up. So I'm going to put some more fluid in there. You don't want to get it below that line of the intake right there. You'll just suck air right in. So let me keep it going and we'll get this line fully primed. Right now, if you guys are curious, we have no brake lever because there's no brake fluid in the lines. So this lever is just completely to the bar. So let me bleed this out just using this gun. We'll get it done just here in a couple of minutes. So it will take, and then we'll show you what the lever feels like. Now you can see here I still got some air bubbles coming out when I pull the trigger. Alright, so we'll just keep doing this until it's coming out just smooth. Alright, then as I'm doing it, I'll squeeze the trigger, and as it has vacuum coming out of it, I will shut it so that we got clear fluid coming out of there now. Right, and then I'll squeeze the trigger, and then I'll just cap it off. And then what I'm going to do on the other side, we'll do the other side, get fluid on that one, so we have fluid on both lines, because this is a dual line setup. All right, and if you're doing any of these and you're trying to get pressure, like right now this is loose, but I'm squeezing the trigger, I'm not getting anything out of it. We're going to take this bleeder off and make sure the bleeder is not corroded, has any rust in it. We'll clear that out. All right, now that I have this out, you can see it's just flowing out of there, which is another good way. You can do this and just gravity will feed and the air will go up the lines into the master. It's another way to do it. Not the best, but you can do it this way as well. I'm going to go clean out this bleeder. All right, clean and flowing again. All right, guys, so now we have a lever. We got brake feel. What I like to do is a combination of both. I do the pneumatic, and I suck fluid all through the lines with the pneumatic bleeder down there. And then when I'm done here, just to make sure I get everything out, I'll pump it a couple times and hold it, and then I'll just crack it like I was showing you guys before, and make sure I just get nothing but fluid coming out. Make sure the lever stays good. This one also has a bleeder at the master cylinder right here, so you can crack this one and let air come out of there. And you can just let that gravity feed if you wanted to as well. Just hook a hose to it, crack it, and let the air come through the lines. So let me pump it a couple times and make sure we're good. All right, nice clear fluid coming out of both calipers. Look at that now. Bam. Now that's a brake lever. So those are the 5 that I recommend. Now that didn't take long at all. Hopefully that helps you out, because sometimes these braided lines are very difficult to bleed. Now, here's a tech tip. If you're having trouble, you don't have any of these tools, and you're pumping, you're pumping the front brake and you're releasing and holding, pumping, releasing, holding, and you constantly get air and you can't get lever feel, walk away for a minute. Let it settle. sometimes there's a bunch of little tiny bubbles. From you doing that, gets them all really, really tiny bubbles in there, and it makes it hard for you to bleed them out. So just walk away, let the bubbles form back together, then go back to your caliper, pump it up, crack the caliper, close it again, do that a couple times, and that should help you out. They don't all have bleeders at the master like this one does. This is a 2006 GSXR 600. Dirt bikes usually don't have that. But like I said, if you're having problems, give it a little bit of time. Let the bubbles go, come back together as one, and then it'll come out a little easier. Usually people have problems. They just keep pumping and cracking and pumping and cracking and pumping like nonstop, and you don't give it any time to settle back down again. But you can get one of these pneumatic bleeders. I'll put in the description. I'll put a link to both of them, the vacuum one and the pneumatic one. You should really get your hands on one of those. They're not that expensive. The pneumatic one's very cheap. I got it from Harbor Freight, and it's worked. I've used it for all different kinds of things. It's great for getting a lot of things out and cause suction and be able to get some hard fluids out of tough spots. So guys, go ahead and get one of those. Hopefully this helps you out, guys. Please hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell for further notifications. This build that I just did this on, this GSXR, is coming together, so stay tuned for future videos on that. You're going to love it. Till next time, guys, this is Tepcocyclerepair.